Hey guys, Jeff here with Fence Depot, and today we're going to show you how to attach your wall mounts to a masonry column so that you could tie your aluminum fence into the column. So there's some tools before we get started that you're going to make sure you want to have. The first one's going to be a level. We're also going to need our wall mount. We're going to need masonry screws. We're using the blue Tapcons. You could use whatever brand you choose, but the Tapcons work well. You're going to need a drill with a hammer drill bit, so you could drill into the block that makes up the column. And you also need a drill. You don't have to have two separate ones, but we have it set it up with two. You'll need one with a nut driver on there so we could drive the Tapcon in there. So follow me and I'll show you how to get this thing set up. Okay, before we get started, I want to explain the jig system that we made that's really going to help speed things up and cut down on a lot of measuring. So all it is a cut-off section piece of your fence, and what we did was we took 3 wall mounts and we screwed them to the end so that we can make sure that our rail spacing is identical to the spacing of the section when we mount it onto the column. Okay, the next thing you need to do is establish how high you want your fence to be in relation with the column. Now we've decided that we want the tops of the pickets to be even with the top stone of the column. In order to make sure that happens, all you need is a straight edge. We're going to use a level, but you could put a 2x4 up or anything with a straight edge just to overhang, and we're going to raise our jig up until it touches the first picket. And now we know that the panel will be the correct height. Before we start laying out where each wall bracket goes, and before we can start drilling, we need to find the center of the column. So we know we have 2-foot square columns, so we're just going to take a measuring tape, and you could use a construction pencil, a piece of chalk, or we're using a Sharpie, and we mark the center of our column. Okay, now that we marked the center of the column, now it's time to adjust the height of the panel where we want it to sit within the column, and we also need to make sure that it's perfectly straight up and down, which they call plumb. So in order to do that, we're going to take our straight edge, we're using a 4-foot level, and we just raise our panel up to the bottom of the straight edge. Now we want to make sure that the upper wall mount is in the dead center of our center mark. At that point, you can remove your level, and while we hold the panel on the center of the mark, we move the section until it's running perfectly straight up and down and level. Okay, so now we have our panel at the correct height, and we have it nice and level on the column so that it's running perfectly straight up and down. The next step is to take a marker and actually go through the center of the hole on the wall mount and mark the block so we know where to drill for our masonry screw. Okay, now that we've got our wall mount brackets marked out on the column, it's time to drill. You're going to need a hammer drill with a masonry drill bit in order to drill through the block, and that's what we have set up here. So we've already drilled one, we're going to drill the second one, and it'll be time to attach the wall mount. Okay. All right, now that we have both our holes drilled, it's time to attach the wall mount. So all you need is a wall mount, 2 masonry screws, and a cordless drill with a nut driver on it. Get that started. Just like that. Put the other one in. All right, there you go. And that's how you install a wall mount on a masonry column. Okay, when you're dealing with split face block, sometimes you'll find that your wall mount bracket just won't lay flat. At that point, you're going to need to get a grinder with a diamond blade on it and knock off the high spots on the split face block. If you're dealing with a brick column, you wouldn't run into this issue, but sometimes on the split face, you're going to have to do that.